Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to another episode of The Path Forward here at TASA Midwinter in Austin, Texas. I'm joined by a very special guest, Dr. Matthew Gutierrez, Superintendent Seguin ISD. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Now I got to jump in. First semester of the year. Technically, we're back to normal after COVID. Give me some highlights from Seguin.
Yeah, we are, we consider it post-COVID, even though it's still here. But we had a really great first semester of school. A lot of great things are happening in our school district. We just launched this year's Strategic Plan 2.0. We completed the last strategic plan that was a 4-year period and really built on that solid foundation, and things are just taking off. We've redesigned our middle schools. We are a system of great schools with the Texas Education Agency, so we have really disrupted what traditional middle school looks like, and that is exciting. Our community's excited about it, our teachers, but most importantly our kids. So all of our core content classes are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
On Friday, our students engage in a PBL block, a GROW block, which is intervention or enrichment, and a SEL or whole child block.
Wow.
And so with the PBL block, what I'm really proud of is that our kids are really solving real world problems specifically within our community. So it is really given our kids ownership, afforded them the opportunity to engage in some really higher level thinking with their peers and their teachers. Those are two of the biggest things that I'm really proud of this year. And we accomplished a lot with that first strategic plan, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to see in Seguin ISD in 3 or 4 years.
I mean, that's outstanding. So funny thing is, rarely do you hear superintendents or districts talk about, we finished a strategic plan and we're setting the goals higher. So
we live and breathe by that strategic plan, and especially this one, we've really put in place specific benchmarks, and we give our board monthly updates. We identify a bright spot and we identify a challenge, and we track each strategic action and identify whether we're on track, off track, or if we've completed it. And our community, just like our board of trustees, they monitor that plan too. So it's a living, breathing document that I'm really proud of. It took us 12 months to develop that strategic plan.
Right.
And I've been in several districts and I've never seen anything like this.
Right.
And so it's taken a great team to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's literally your playbook, and everything should be aligned to
It
that.
is. It's absolutely our blueprint.
And as well as I do, sometimes we have a tendency to do the work, and then that strategic plan either sits on the desk or sits on somebody's laptop, and we don't dive into it until it's the next time or star scores come out or what have you. So, that's a great job. I commend you and your team for being able to not only engage in the work, but finish and then say, hey, we're going to set the next one. Our goals are even going to be higher.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trust in the process, so much so that even our board, they only evaluate me on four things.
Right.
There are 4 specific goals that they have set out, and so there's no surprises when it comes to my evaluation. They evaluate me on those 4 goals that are based on that strategic plan. And so there's that accountability from the top all the way down to the classroom level.
So I want to switch gears, and I may embarrass you a little bit here, but I got to admit, when I started, as a principal and then to an assistant superintendent, I was not conscious of messaging, of sharing all of the positive things. I was always all right, head down in the work. You don't want anything out there because there is a chance it can go wrong. And through a mutual friend, Dr. Zamora, she mentioned, hey, you need to take a look and see what Matthew's doing out there in Seguin. And so I didn't know what she meant. She said, and you need to get on social media. You need to be more aware of all of those components. And so I followed you, and we had met, and I started looking, and I was amazed at how you were sharing the success of the district. And I got to tell you, and I don't know if you know this, you were one of the leaders and the first, I believe, of our colleagues to really leverage the great things that are happening and leading through a lens of like, hey, we're going to tell our story because if you don't, other people will tell it for you. How did you know to do that? How did that come into being, and how have you just, been the leader in that space?
So I came into Seguin ISD in 2017 and quickly realized, even before my first day, that we weren't telling our story. Other people were telling our story, whether it was people in the community or in surrounding communities or even statewide, and it wasn't a positive story. And there were great things that were happening. But we were about to embark on a new journey too. And so we really needed to change the perceptions out there and really elevate our school district, celebrate our successes, celebrate our teachers, our administrators, all stakeholders. And so I knew that we were going to really need to be strategic to really open the doors to our classrooms
Right.
and our schools, because it was really hurting us as a school district. But in addition to that, there's competition, right? We have
Sure.
a charter school in Seguin, there's a private school, and we've got things that are going on with public schools and just a lot of misinformation out there. So we took a really aggressive approach, I did specifically, and really started to build a community, not just within our school district, but within the Seguin ISD community. And it gave our community an opportunity to really see the work of a superintendent. And if they're paying attention, my hope is that they see that I lead with love. And I really do believe that the community sees that they have a leader who cares, but they see that we have principals who care,
Right.
teachers who care, child nutrition workers who care, custodians who care. And it really changed how people felt about Seguin ISD. We passed Bond 2019 with almost 70% approval with the football stadium, one that had not been able to pass for over 20 years. We just passed Bond 2022, the largest in history of Seguin ISD, and I really think that really started with telling our story on social media and getting that support and really elevating the work that we're doing. And we just had system of great schools in Seguin ISD back in November, and we had about 20 school districts come to see what we're doing specifically at the middle schools. And I really do think it starts with utilizing and capitalizing on the use of social media.
Now, how do you get your administrators more, engaged with that? Because I would imagine, when you started, there's probably a little bit of hesitation.
There was.
How do you help them see the positive power of it?
Well, and it took really establishing trust in social media, because we weren't using it.
Right.
So you've got to live it and experience it to truly understand. And so I was actually leading the principal learning my first couple of years in Seguin ISD, and part of that was incorporating Twitter chats, whether it was just with the leadership group or even engaging in Twitter chats with all teachers one evening, or engaging in just national Twitter chats. And so we had our administrators create social media accounts. They started highlighting their work, their schools, and then they started seeing that more people in the community were getting involved, and it was really amazing. So after that, things just became natural, and you had teachers sharing and schools sharing and just everyone in the system sharing. And now we have a line of people in the community and businesses and industries that want to support our schools, and they're pouring in just a lot of resources into our schools, and that wasn't happening before.
It's amazing to see the transformation, because I feel like I've seen it for since I started following you in 2017, and seen the transformation in the district in terms of, wow, I had no idea. And you have a well-earned reputation of being an innovator. One thing that I saw in there that blew me away, and I want you to tell the story behind it. you had a bus. Was it a bus? And you made some adjustments to that bus for some of your special education students.
We did during the COVID shutdown, and then even after when kids were already coming back. But a lot of our medically fragile kids, many of which are in special education, were not. They couldn't come to school.
Right.
Quite understandable. So what I thought of this idea, and I knew that
Okay,
my team
you
was
got
going to think I was crazy.
What was the inspiration? Like, how did you? I'm always interested. Like, how did it just like?
Well, because I knew we were making home visits, and I thought we do have additional buses. Like, why not turn those buses into classrooms where we can provide our services to the kids at their home so that they can get a school experience? Because a lot of kids they were missing out on the school experience.
Right.
And oftentimes they couldn't even engage in the virtual platform with other kids. And so what we thought of was creating a classroom within a bus where they could get all of their special education services at the convenience of right there at their home. And I even had the opportunity to go on a few of those visits and just to see the faces of these kids light up because school was here.
That's unbelievable.
It was priceless, and our staff found it to be very rewarding too. And so we just didn't skip a beat when it came to providing services to our kids.
So tell me, so when you rolled this, like when you threw the idea out there, what was the reaction of your? I'm assuming transportation was like, huh?
Well, they're also accustomed to crazy ideas.
They're used to it by now.
So I don't think that they were too shocked. But the great thing is the people in Seguin, all staff, they're all in for kids.
Yeah.
And so there's a willingness to go above and beyond, and no hesitation. And it was a matter of days before a bus was transformed into a classroom.
Have you thought about? So you try that, or someone tries that 5 years before. That's not something that would have been possible for those students. Have you thought about the impact of that? Like, had someone tried this and we've not made the transformation through your leadership, your team's leadership for the district, that reality would not have been possible for some of our neediest students. Have you really thought about the impact of that?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you get so involved in the day-to-day, and I probably don't spend enough time just really reflecting on things.
But think about that. Think about that impact. If you're a parent of a special needs student, right, and there's so much that they take on for their children. And you know as well as I do, we've been in those ARDs and we've had those discussions. And sometimes it breaks your heart because there's only so much that can happen. And then you have COVID come. And because you have created this culture where, like you said, staff isn't this, all right, what's next? What's next, Dr. G? Just give us whatever crazy idea, we're going to make it happen. And to have that innovation bring something to a child that would have not been possible 2 years ago, 5 years ago, do you understand like what that means to a kid and to a parent? I'm not trying to embarrass you, but that's a hell of an accomplishment.
It really puts things in perspective, and our parents really appreciated what we did, and you know they have a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
Because they are dedicating, oftentimes a lot of these parents are dedicating their lives to taking care of their children who have all of these needs, and so it was all falling on them for a short time.
Absolutely.
And they just really appreciated what the district was able to do, not just for their children, but for them too, because it was an opportunity for the parent, if a parent chose to, sit with their child to see how
Sure.
our staff interacts with their children, to really help give them the tools to be able to reinforce at home too.
Yep. I remember when I saw it, I went and showed my wife. She's an educator in Sci-Fair, and I said, this is the stuff what leadership is right here. This is what we should be doing, right? And as much as we have to do with all of the management, all of the responsibilities of just making school run, this is the thing that changes lives. This is the thing that changes our communities. And she said, well, how did he do it? I said, he just got it done. He got it done. So I don't know. I have not talked to him about it. I don't know him well enough to pick up the phone and say, hey man, how did you do that? But what I do know is there was a need, and he had his staff, whoever did this and made this happen, there's extreme trust, because he said, get this done. It's in the best interest of kids. And the next thing you know, you have it done. So I wanted to say that you probably didn't know that, but that was a huge moment for me to be able to see that and think, this is what it's about. All the stuff that you deal with, all the things, the good, the bad, that's what it's
about.
about.
Transforming lives and doing whatever it takes to be able to accomplish that. And I've been fortunate my entire time in Seguin to work with people who are willing and open-minded, but I can even just talk about an idea and people make it happen. It doesn't even need to be we need to do. People want to do more for the students in our school district, and I really do believe it's that culture, that collective responsibility that has really helped to move Seguin ISD.
Last question. You've accomplished a great deal for your students, your community there. Where do you go from here? How do you continue to raise the bar for your kids?
There's still a lot of work to be done, and we are on the right path in Seguin. We had the best year as far as academic performance in the spring of 2022 since 2010. Although our letter grade doesn't match up, but most of our schools are high performing. But TEA recognizes the flaws in the system, but we're proud of the progress that we're making. Our North Star goal is to have 80% or more of our students in a B or better seat within 2 years, and I truly believe we're on the way. But it takes a village to make that happen, not just our employees, not just our teachers, but it takes community support, and we're finally in a place, like all of the right puzzle pieces are finally together in Seguin ISD, where we have just an outpouring of support coming into our school district. That was really, I'd say, the final missing piece, because I felt like we had made so much progress, but we've got that now.
So you're well on your way.
We are.
Well, I want to, first of all, thank you for joining me and having this discussion, but also thank you for leading. And when people say, hey, you're never really aware of your influence as a leader, and you're never really aware of how you impact others, but don't take that for granted, I'm telling you, it has impacted me a great deal. And it's part of the reason why I started a podcast, because I wanted to have conversations with colleagues about the problems and the solutions. But this would not have happened had Martha said, hey, you need to check. I
have so much respect for her. So that means a lot.
She's the best, but she knew that I needed to open my eyes, and she saw what you were doing and said, you need to take a page out of his book. And ever since then, I've been trying to continue to layer in, and I thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I really appreciate all that you're doing. I know your community does as well. So thank you for being here. To all of our viewers, our listeners, please like, subscribe, comment. If you want to work for an innovator, somebody that leads with love in a great school district, Dr. Gutierrez and Seguin. Seguin is the place. Where do they need to find you? I know we've got your Twitter handle, anything, but is there anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, Twitter is a great place to find me, at Dr. Matt Gutierrez, and look forward to connecting and networking.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Produced by Podcast Architects.